Hello there. My name is Schwisow, and I currently live in Basehor, Kansas, and work for Basehor School District. And this is my Chapter 3, Understanding My Community for EDL 856. A little bit about Basehor. Basehor was established in 1889. When you look up here, you can see that these are the same statement that is you see when you drive into our town. It'll say Basehor, Kansas, and still growing. And that really is what is going on in our community in a very unique way. Population is 4,787 people, and Basehor has deep roots to Leavenworth County and a lot of the history of the railroads and Fort Leavenworth, that must in Leavenworth, Kansas. Leavenworth County is the fastest growing county in Kansas, and Basehor is the fifth fastest growing city in Kansas. And I have some very unique statistics that I'm going to show a little bit later about our community, and some very positive current events that have just happened in our community, especially with our ties to our school district. Is Basehor was named a Blue Ribbon School District last year, one of only 6 schools in the state of Kansas, and I believe 289 in the country. When you think of Basehor, Basehor is a perfect example of a bedroom community to the bigger city. We are very rural, but if you want something a little bit faster paced, we are 5 miles, 10 miles away from anything that you would need. The community is very rural with limited shopping, stores, and a very limited downtown that consists of, I think, four buildings, no commercial in that downtown. But this is based purely on our location being accessible to larger, more populated areas. We have some, shopping, but a lot of it is a hop on a highway, and you are to everything that you would need. The businesses that are corporate or locally owned are very well supported, mainly because of ease and convenience, and also the small size of the town and where a majority of our populates. Very few people work inside, mainly because of the lack of businesses, but mainly because of the ability to commute easily to Kansas City, Lawrence, Topeka, and Leavenworth. I came across a unique statistic on the census as well that I think that the average commute for employees in our town is about 27 to 28 miles, which is fairly fast because of the location that we sit to I-70, 435, and some major highways. This does not, however, this commuting does not take away from the sense of township or pride. The town is very school-based. It's a very family-oriented town that gets its identity mainly through its schools. And Basehor is a balanced mix of blue-collar and white-collar with a very high Caucasian population. The town itself is very fast-paced outside the city limits, but it's slow-paced within. That's kind of how I like to think of it when I talk to other people about where I live, or honestly, why since I've moved here, had no desire to leave. It is that I can be at home, family and kids, and feel country-based. But as I've said before, hop in and I can get to anything that we need. The town itself does keep this slow pace by having a city park, a city library, city museum, phenomenal school facilities. And some of the traditions that we have in our town is we have a Fourth. I did not put in the slide as well. Homecoming is a great tradition for our town. And then we also have our yearly event of Dairy Days, as well as several local craft shows and so forth that our older community have really upheld. Religious base. There are 9 churches within, it probably is even less than the 4 miles. The map, when I MapQuest it, says about 5, but it looks even tighter knit to that. And of those 9 churches, you're hitting almost every demographic, from Catholic to Lutheran to Christian to Methodist. And in fact, we actually have one church that rents out our high school auditorium on Sundays. That is moved over from the Wyandotte County to actually increase that to 10 churches. The city structure, the main focus of the city is actually in connecting Basehor to Kansas City while keeping it separate and keep a small town feeling environment. I know from talking to a lot of the city manager and so forth, they definitely want to keep our town separate and not get swallowed up and become, I could say, a suburb, but stay a town itself. And they are doing a very good job of that. Our school system, as I stated before, was a blue ribbon school. We have 3 elementary schools, 1 middle school, and 1 high school. The school district is Basehor Linwood, so we are a combination of Wood, Kansas, and Basehor, Kansas, which makes a very large school district. I believe a statistic showed 82% of our population lives in Basehor. So Linwood is our smaller district. We have an elementary school in Linwood, actually a preschool that runs into that elementary school as well. We have an elementary school between the 2 towns, and we have an elementary school in Basehor. The Basehor elementary system goes K through 12, and then actually a very nice 3 through 5 facility that just opened on a bond movement. And in that bond movement was a brand new middle school that we built 3 years ago that sits in Basehor between the high school and the old middle school that was in Linwood. And then we have our 1 high school. Basehor actually has the first virtual school in Kansas that opened up in 1989, and we have a lot of our teachers teach virtual schools and helping get some different demographics through vocational process and get their high school diplomas for whatever reason. Our high school take the ACT. We have a 1-to-1 iPad initiative that is going to be beginning through our middle school system, where 6th graders, every 6th grader from here on out that comes through will have an iPad through a contract system. So we will be seeing that. I'm a high school teacher. We'll be seeing that in 2 years. So we're preparing ourselves. And then also, nice thing about our school district is very creative minded in meeting our needs and making sure that we don't get affected by some of the things throughout the Kansas. And so we've been forward thinking in those aspects. Next, when you start looking at the population characteristics of our town, over 94% of the Basehor community has a high school diploma, with 29% a bachelor's, 13% a master's level. The median age is around 37. Very, very similar. 48% male, 52% female. I'm sure that can flip one way or the other for pretty easily. So fairly balanced there. Occupation, only 2% of the community is unemployed. I did state the community average, or that states a little bit of what our town handles. So 28 mile commute average for most people. I'd say a lot of our teachers in our district do live in the community. So that makes our school district is the main employer of what would be Basehor. The population growth is phenomenal. There's an average of 200% more building permits than the Kansas average. The median house value is over $60,000 higher than Kansas. I'm in there, so that's 60,000, not 600,000. But with those building permits, there's some things that the town has done. I'll state a little bit later to not be swallowed up just by cookie cutter neighborhoods and so forth. 1% of our town is foreign, 91% Caucasian, 4% Hispanic, and 2% African American. So we are very Caucasian based on that system. But that actually will probably start to change a little bit as the metro area of Kansas City starts to spill out a little bit. Looking at our communication channels, the town is school-based. I probably will repeat that several through this presentation. A lot of the information comes through our school system website and City of Basehor website. And we do have a local newspaper, Basehor Sun, and that paper is actually based out of Kansas, and a paper that handles Bonner Springs, Tonganoxie, and Basehor. 3 very similar communities, and we are lucky enough to be close enough to Lawrence that they kind of accept us, which gives us a little bit more ease of publication than if we were swallowed up by Kansas City, where it would be very difficult to some of our local news put out. Radio and TV, the only local, like I stated, would be Channel 6 out of Lawrence, but we do have access to the multiple Kansas City metro area radio, TV, Kansas City Star, newspaper, and so forth. And then your typical other communication channels, it would be social media, since a lot of that comes through the high school or the town. And, then your good coffee shop. Even though we don't have one, we do have a Casey's, and get to see a lot of faces and get a lot of the little talk. Looking at our community groups, We have an American Legion. We have a phenomenal veterans of foreign wars. They do some phenomenal presentations with our school district, always on hand. The football games on Friday nights and the basketball games. We have a color guard through the VFW. They have a great tie into the community, and they really help establish some of the history that does not want to be lost. We have a Chamber of Commerce amongst our two banks and some of our local, and have a Basehor Library, your Lions Club. I've already stated a little bit about the local churches, and then again the high impact that our school system has on actually giving the town its identity a little bit. As we move forward, and it's pausing on me. Looking at the leadership, we have your typical setup with city leaders, with mayor and city council. There's a high influence from the chief of police, probably because there is a low crime rate in the town, but he actually sits also currently as the head of our city council. And so that's not a monopoly of any means. It's just a phenomenal resource and a great tie into our community. Then we have our school district with our superintendent, assistant superintendent, and school board. Size of the actual town and the impact our schools have on the community. The town is based on our schools as well as our few local businesses and banks. This in turn has kind of created a very low turnover in our schools and our employers. Several administrators and teachers are in the community and have been for a long time. Several of our school board members are the local community employers or the owners, and there's a lot of crossover between the two, which leads to a pretty positive environment. We're looking at our community leaders' character. Our town leaders are very Basehor based with in roots that are either new or long established. They all are very easily. I jokingly talked about the Caseys on a Saturday morning where you might run into our chief of police, the city mayor. They easily accessible through a phone call. There's not a whole lot of chain of command feel. The same thing goes with our superintendent. Even though we are a growing district, there's a great one-on-one communication feel to it. Community leaders are town and school board members. And then there's always the hidden leaders. I already talked a little bit about our VFW, and we have phenomenal involvement by our parents and including our students with some of our unique programs that we have through our school district. We like to say that some of our community leaders are the parents as well as the students, which shows the impact that our school district does have and our school has. Looking at economic conditions, Basehor is about a 6.8% unemployment rate versus 6% in Kansas. The wage rate is a lot higher, 78,000 versus 48,000 in Kansas, and your property value is about $60,000 more than that of Kansas. The unique statement of Basehor is the town is only about 3.14 square miles. Surrounding areas are farmland, and I've already stated the growth of the town and how it's the fifth fastest growing city in Kansas. High residential property and very low commercial. When you look at our political structure, the city of Basehor is very town. They want to keep the small town feel while increasing population. They're working on controlling the growth of housing. There's very low apartment complexes, duplexes. Everything is single family homing, which is providing a great town feel, and actually has increased that percentage of our employment rate as well in the town. The schools, the focus has been preparing for growth, increasing technology with that one-to-one initiative. The Blue Ribbon District, as I stated, future needs and the job security. When you look at social tensions, the town is very safe. There's very little confrontation or lack of safety. We have 2 officers for every 1,000 people. Only crime is burglary or theft, and that is about 10 times the norm. There is no gang affiliation with little to no spillover from the inner city where we sit. And when you look at cliques or diversity, really the only cliques are social-based. With the low diversity in our community, there's still a great understanding of diversity and cultural difference. I think that's because of our location, because even though our town is 91% Caucasian, a lot of that is mainly based because of kind of maybe our housing and some of our cost when you look at culture. And we live so close to so many other types of areas and stuff that it really hasn't become an issue. So there's an overview of our community. And if you have any questions, feel free to post. I feel I will probably put a note on there on some of my illustrating this. So thank you for your time.